And welcome to this video symposium. We hope that you use this activity in your future teaching sequences. What will be presented to you is a read aloud activity of a wordless picture book, and it's called Flotsam by David Wiesner. The following is a pedagogical demonstration which includes a planning phase that activates prior knowledge, an activity phase which provides guiding questions and prompts which students can reflect and expand on during the read aloud, and an integration phase to support understanding post-reading. But first, let's take a look at some pedagogical elements from the Quebec Education Program. The reading activity is designed for an EDSL setting, and the competencies at play are as follow. First is interact orally in English, which has everything to do with constructing meaning of the message. Second is reinvesting understanding of the text, or here, the story. One way for students to do this is by connecting ideas to the story and share their perspectives with others. The last competency would be to write and produce text as a reinvestment activity. Now for student strategies. There are many to develop. First would be communication. First we have the recast, which restates what someone else has just said, just to be able to verify comprehension. Second one would be to rephrase, which is a form of expressing in an alternative way. Third one is stall for time, which permits to buy some more time to think out a response. And we have substitute, using a less precise expression or a word just to be able to replace a more precise one, but unfortunately unknown to the student. Another set of strategies is the cognitive ones. Starting with activation of prior knowledge, which is the ability to link new information to what is already known. Next, we have compare, which is the ability to identify the similarities and also the differences. We also have infer, which would be making guesses based on whatever cues available, such as context and, in our case, visual clues. And lastly, we have the ability to predict. Finally, let's dive into some social and effective strategies. First, we have asking questions and clarifications, and so the students would be able to do so. Second, we have cooperate with others. Third, we have taking risks, which is the same as experimenting with language and ideas without the fear of making errors. All right, let's take a look now at the evaluation criteria. These are actually a copy of the EDSL competencies that we have seen earlier. And these evaluation criteria can be used to measure student progress. So to begin, we have interact orally in English by noticing participation in oral interactions, by taking a look at the content of the message also, and we would also have to pay close attention to the articulation of the message. Second, we have reinvest understanding of story by listening to students exchanging during interactions with their peers. We also have the reinvestment task, which would assess the students' understanding of the story. If the students are able to convey their opinions and information in regards to the story, then it could be used by the teacher as evidence of the student's understanding of story. Now on to the learning intentions, a very important element, which is what it is that the teacher wishes their students to acquire through the activity. First on the list, we have focus on meaning, which is the ability to understand the meaning of the message. Next, we have focus on form, which is the proper structure of the language that is spoken. It goes to say that the accuracy of the form contributes to the clarity of the message. Another important one, language repertoire, which is the vocabulary related to theme and features of the story, and in this case, the underwater world. In fact, a thematic words list must be presented to the students prior to beginning the reading activity. Words like tide, sea anemone, sperm whale, hermit crab, fish fins, gill slits, anglerfish, pufferfish, and so on are part of the thematic words list. Students can use these words to name the elements that they see throughout the storytelling. All right, we talked about reinvestment tasks. Some examples include maybe writing down reactions, questions, and even informations in their response journal if they have one. In that way, they can make links to the story by relating it to their opinions, maybe their experiences, their interests, feelings, or concerns. And doing so would be all in written form. Another reinvestment activity would be through grouping of small teams, answering questions, prompts, and that could be either in written or oral form. This way, not only do students have the chance to consider what others have understood, but they also foster continuous construction of meaning through others' feedback. As a bonus point, they get to share a personal connection with others. Lastly, let's touch on some preventive measures. These should work on vocabulary accuracy as well as focus on form. They also work with structure of the English language. Some examples of language difficulties are phonological errors, which is the mispronunciation of a word. Another type of difficulty is the grammatical error. This one pertains to sentence structure and also to verb agreement. We also have lexical errors, and this is when the students use the wrong word. And lastly, we have the contextual error, which is partly or completely misunderstanding of the meaning. Of course, the teacher is a facilitator and provides solutions to these very common language difficulties. First, with reactive feedback. The corrective way is through elicitation. It's when you begin the start of a sentence and you want to elicit the answer from the students. So you want to go as such. It's waiting for the students to find the right word. Another type of reactive feedback would be clarification request. For example, you tell the student, "Sorry, what is it that you meant?" We also have repetition with a slight intonation. An example of this would be, "She sleep," waiting for the students to add the S as the third person. Second, we have proactive teachings, and it's all the measures that you put in place prior to the reading activity or any other type of activity to prevent or at least make sure that these type of difficulties don't happen as much. In this case, we have the thematic list. It is to get students accustomed to the vocabulary prior to the reading, which will make it easier for them to understand and to name the different elements in the book. All right, so this concludes the presentation. So without further ado, let's get to the reading activity, shall we?
Flotsam by David Weisner. What's happening in this first picture? You can use what, where, when, or why. Describe the items that you see in this picture. What do you see? Let's look at the boy. Does he seem interested in swimming at the beach? What's he doing? Does he seem interested in swimming? What's his reaction to what happened here? Is he left speechless? What is he holding in his hand in this picture? Does it seem old? Does it seem new? Why? What does the boy do after his discovery? Take a look at all the pictures. What do you think you would have done in his place if you were him? What would you have done? What do you think he finds inside? What is this used for? Do you know? What's happening in these next pictures? What is the boy doing? What is he looking at? Let's look at the pictures that came out of his camera. What do you see? We're going to look at a few of them together. Look at the colors. Look at where they are. Are they underwater? Describe what's happening under the water. What do you see in this picture? Tell me some of the details that you see. What's the furniture that you see? What about this one? And what's in this one? What type of animals? What type of colors? And this one? What's happening in the picture? And this one? What colors do you see? What's happening in this next picture? This is an interesting picture. Look closely. Something unique is going on in this picture. What do you see? Describe it. If you're not sure, we have a picture of a girl holding a picture of another person who's holding a picture of another person and who's holding a picture of another person. Why is the boy using his magnifying glass? What is he discovering? Was he able to see that far into the photo? Do you think he wants to learn more? What can he use to zoom in on the photo? What is he using to look closer? Explain what you see looking in the picture. What do you think is going to happen next in the story? What will happen when the story continues? How do you think the boy is feeling now? What types of questions is he asking himself? How do you think you'd feel if you found this camera and you developed these pictures? What do you think he's going to do next? Did you think he was going to take a picture of himself with all the other pictures? Did you predict that? What do you see in this picture? If the story was to continue, what do you think would happen next? Look at what he's putting back into the ocean. What do you think would happen next? Where did the camera go in these last two pictures? Describe what you see.
Let's discover this story that takes place on the shore of the beach. We will start with some vocabulary related to vacation or holiday at the beach. Look at this page. What people usually do during their vacation at the beach? Did you see anything? What kind of activities could be done at the beach? Now, let's take a look at page 4 and 5. Can you name a feature? What did you see? I think we have the starfish. Did you see the shell? A board? What about the feather? Coin? Now, with all these words we just talked about, are you ready to enjoy finding some blossom by reading this story? Now, after reading the whole story, do you still have questions about it? And for the question we have before, let's find some answers. Why does the boy have so much science or exploration material at the beach? Do you have any clue you find in the book that can support your answer? Why wasn't the boy swimming? Is there another possibility that why he didn't swimming? To whom belongs the camera? And why was it in the water? Can you think another possible explanation? And now, which was the most interesting page for you? And why you like it? Where do you think was the climax of the story, and why? Do you still have another question?